And we are live. Very good. Get some people in here. How it goes. So, today we're going to be talking about meteoric impacts. Meteors that have been passing by Earth and future meteors that are going to pass by Earth and potential impacts that are going to take place on the planet and how we just have to be basically ready for that. So we're going to wait for some more people to join in here. I have been working on figuring out how to use OBS. So hopefully that's going to work out well for me, because last time I tried to use OBS, it did not work at all. Like kept getting an echo and it kept like crashing on me. But so far it looks like it's working so far. Hello everybody, welcome Jonathan. What's good, Oscar? What's up? Jonathan, you mean too small, insignificant 6 foot? Yes, we're going to be talking about that one. Yes, I do find it hilarious how people are just being like, oh my gosh, there's a meteor gonna come hit us. And by the way, sorry if I do this a bunch and my webcam vibrates a little bit and it looks like I'm in an earthquake, but it's just how it is. I don't have a decent setup yet. I have a Canon camera that I eventually want to try to hook up and use, and not this webcam, because I really want to up the quality of everything eventually. And eventually I want to move out of this room with all of my setup into a more decent background, because there's just way too much going on back here. How do you even say that? Zohaib? I don't even know. Why do you have so many gothic skeletons? Dude, I make all that stuff, man. I find skeletons and stuff out in the woods sometimes where I work. And I'm like, dude, bones. So I take them home, clean them up, and then make them look all sorts of cool and crazy. You can't even see them all. So I got like deer, skulls up there, and got them all like looking all crazy and whatnot. Pretty freaking dope. Awesome misery chick. Awesome subject matter. Looking forward to it. Me too. Let's see if we can get a decent amount of people in here. So far we have 18. So welcome everybody, welcome. It has been a while since I've uploaded a video. I know, I am sorry. I have been preoccupied on doing obviously work and trying to get everything set up and figure out how to use OBS and do all that kind of stuff. But hopefully I will be able to upload more often, especially once I get my new setup. I have a room that's not being used right now, and hopefully I'm going to set it up to where I can use that room and actually film higher quality stuff. The big thing is the time it takes to write out each video. Okay, that's the big thing I'm running into. Like right now, current video that I'm working on is going to be about the granite boxes in the Phant0m in Saqqara. And just having to research all the information, write it all out, make sure you have everything you need, all the pictures and whatnot. It's time consuming. It's really time consuming. And now that I'm back to work, it's just, during the quarantine, doing this kind of stuff was easy, especially with TikTok. Like, the platform of TikTok was just simple, easy, straightforward. I can knock it out in like an hour. Not the case when you're using larger platforms. And don't ever buy VideoPad editor, okay? It is horrible. The amount of bugs in that software is insane. Like in my, it was my last video. Like every time you'd put like text in the video, one of the sections where you put text in, it would just freeze frame the actual screen. So at the end of the last video I was talking about, I don't even remember what I was talking about. I think it was was it Baalbek? I don't even remember. But I was talking about, yeah, it was Baalbek. The water machine, for my sponsor, and I put up the promo code Ribus, and it just freeze framed. I'm like, you know what? Just kill me already, man. This is nonsense. We got lots of people joining in here. Got 21. Welcome everybody. It's been a while. Hey, what's good? Max, hey Phant0m, what's good, Max? Benjamin, hey, what's up? Not much, bro. Same old, trying to survive in this crazy 2020 world we are all living in now. It's super fun, isn't it? Jonathan Tura, thanks for all your videos, man. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ion Koibanu, sure. How has your week been? Well, it's been, all right. We had kind of a scare a little bit there. One of my roommates had somebody they worked with confirmed to have the coronavirus. So we had to quarantine for a few days before, and they went to go get tested and they came back negative, thankfully. But, so last week I went on vacation to the beach. And if anybody follows me on Instagram, you saw that I, made the pyramids out of sand. And that took a while, by the way. I made more stuff out of sand, but that's political stuff. We're not going to get into that. But, made the pyramids. So I was gone for a week, not able to really do anything. And then I came back and then immediately got that news of potentially having somebody with the coronavirus. So I wasn't able to do anything again. And I really just spent a lot of time researching into the Phant0m boxes and doing that kind of stuff. So that's what's been going on with that. But back to work again. So that's what we're doing. Come down here. Jonathan, I'm guessing the Democrats, CNN, don't want that we get hit by an asteroid every day. I'm guessing the Democrats, CNN, don't know that we get hit by asteroids every day. Yes, every day. Little tiny basketball-sized meteorites, mostly. You have no idea they even hit us. But it is funny. It is super funny that they, are just like, whoa, guys, guess what? It's because it's all about, exaggeration. They want to try to get underneath your skin and make you like stressed out, so you'll click on their articles and stuff like that. And we just need to stop clicking on their stuff. That's just what it comes to. Hard Productions. Yeah, VideoPad sucks. I used it to edit my videos for like 5 months and switched a few weeks ago. Yeah, I'm right there with you, dude. My gosh, it was horrible. Very frustrating. I'm still going to call you Ion. What careers would you recommend for people into history? I have no idea. That's a great question. That was never really a thing I tried to get into. I'm just like a history enthusiast, I just like doing my own research or whatever. I don't want to go back to college. Let's just put it that way. I did not really enjoy college a whole lot. I graduated back in 2014 with a graphic design program with my associates, and that was it. I'm not going back there. I'm not spending any more money, especially now that it's all going to be online, yet you're still paying for the full tuition along with all of the fees and extra stuff. It's crazy. But as for a potential job, I unfortunately do not know. I mean, I've had some people say that they have changed their careers to go into archaeology, which is pretty interesting because of me. I'm like, wow, that's pretty interesting. Benjamin, isn't that the truth? Yeah, bro. Thomas Van Leiden. I really like the TikTok format as well. Maybe some alternative to this cows. It's interesting for you because of time and interesting for me because fast, interesting facts I can show my friends and family. Yes, like that's why I think TikTok took off like it did. The short videos, and I'm able to pack in a bunch of information that people just find to be fascinating, like the mysteries of ancient history. It just, people really, really ate that stuff up. And that's why it got so freaking big on TikTok. And it was pretty dope when it lasted. And supposedly Microsoft is going to be buying TikTok. I honestly don't think that's going to happen. I'm not going to lie, especially with all the restrictions that are going to be put on that platform. I really don't see TikTok lasting much longer, honestly. But there are going to be other platforms that are going to be adopting that type of format, though. Like, I'm pretty sure Instagram has one called Reels. It's getting ready to come out now. It only does 15-second videos, so it's not very good for me, especially when it comes to, because 60 seconds was just long enough to pack in all that stuff that I told you guys about. And I was stretching it sometimes. Like, if you go listen to the Carolina Bay video on my TikTok, like, I was talking just fast. I mean, you had to talk fast sometimes. Where were we? Just got a bunch of comments in here. And where was I? There we go. Lefty Gribbins, enjoy your content. Keep it up. Thank you. Thank you very much. D. Sayers. I think the ancient news cycles of... I think the ancients knew the cycles of the night sky. There was a reason why comets and asteroids scared them. 100%. Actually, I need to make sure... Give me 1 second, everybody. I promised somebody I would put the link to this in my post the link to this live stream. So let me do that real quick. Hey, you shut up. I don't want to hear myself talk. copy. Excuse me 1 second, everybody. All right, so get back over here. Where was I? What were we talking about just now? Ancients knew the cycles, absolutely, and that's one thing. Randall Carlson, if you follow him at all, and you know, I've been listening to what he's been talking about. The ancients have been aware of the galactic cycle. Well, galactic's much bigger. The cycle of our solar system. They knew when events took place, and that's why these stories are so cataclysmic, talking about all of this destruction and, you know, hellfire and all that kind of stuff, because they've experienced these things. They know they happened, and they know they knew they were going to happen. So they wrote them into these stories to warn us of the potential danger we face today. And I mean, just look around us right now. The planet is going through a cycle, and we are here for the ride. And we've survived all the previous ones in the past, and I absolutely believe we're going to survive the next one to take place. The question is, where will we be coming out of that transition? And honestly, right now, we are not ready. We are not ready mentally for the next cycle to take place on this planet. And we'll see. We'll see how interesting it is. We're going to talk a little bit more about that kind of stuff later, the cycles and what we're ready for. Let's see, we got 25 people in here now. Welcome, everybody. Let's see if we can get up to 30, and then we're going to start talking about the main subject. I'm going to keep coming down here with your guys' comments. Red, green, blue. I love your content. Your logo scares my kids. Well, you kids need to grow some skin. Put some skin on your kids, because the logo's here to stay. I do that myself. It's my mask. See the mask up there? Yeah. And all, you know, my previous videos, you know, that's the point of the logo. It's because of, and you know, it's funny because I'll go back and look at those videos now, and it was a little cringy. You know, it's just a little bit cringy, but hey, it was what I thought was kind of cool at the time, and I didn't want anybody to know who I was yet, so I put on the mask, made it edgy. But hey, that's just what it is. Now it's the logo, so you kids are going to have to get over that. Jonathan, maybe we are quarantined to eradicate viruses for the soon arrival of aliens. I don't know about that. That's interesting. I do think aliens are out there, and they could definitely be on the way, or they're here right now, and they've always been here with us. I mean, and when you look into all these ancient stories of beings and gods coming out of the sky, what is that? Sounds like an alien to me. It's pronounced Chiobanwu. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. I am horrible with trying to pronounce some of your guys' names, and it is upsetting. I'm very sorry. Chiobanwu. Woo. Okay. Sam Jeffries. I like your sand pyramids. Gee. Yeah, dude, that took a while, let me tell you. Again, I did so much digging in the sand over the weekend. Hey, you. What are you doing? Coming in here to bug me again? Okay, hi. Red, green, blue. I have a math background, so love seeing all your segments on your math findings. Yeah. I did not have a very deep math background. It actually, math was never my forte, you know, in school. I was never really good with the numbers, and it took a while to like understand it to make sure it was correct for you guys when I talked about that kind of stuff, and I had to correct some things on the TikTok. But yeah, math is everything, quite literally, and I wish I was way better at it. That way I could do more in-depth stuff, and some people are amazing. Like I'm watching this one dude on Instagram, I forget his, I'll have to find it again, but he's been going through the Da Vinci, what's it called? The Da Vinci's Man, like where he's like standing out, you know, with the circles and whatnot, and how it mathematically is portraying the Great Pyramid. Now, I don't know enough about it to really talk about it in depth. I'm still looking into that kind of stuff, but Da Vinci knew something about the Great Pyramid. And along with Shakespeare, I'm doing research on that still. I will be doing a video about that and linking that kind of stuff in down below. But it's super, super freaking cool. Just the mathematical stuff that they were able to encode into their art and writings and stuff. It's amazing. Okay, we got 26 people in here now. Let's see. We'll go till 9:20, and if nobody else has joined in, we will get going on the main topic. Thomas, what would you need to be able to visit? What would you need to be able to visit all these historical sites, and would you be interested to stream from these places? Absolutely, that would be freaking dope. Now, I've been speaking with this one dude, Andy XT. He messaged me. I made a Twitter, and I know I have been railing against Twitter in the past before, but I wanted a platform to, you know, send out basically tweets, okay? And I also downloaded Minds, and I'm trying to figure out exactly how that one's supposed to work as well. I will be posting the links to those in the comments down below at the end of this video, so you guys can go find that. But NEXT, he's also on YouTube. He goes to these ancient sites. He studied under John Anthony West, and he also is friends with Christopher Dunn. And he has a program where people can go to these ancient sites, and they do a whole tour with people through Egypt and, you know, places in South America and all that kind of stuff. And he was talking about a program to where if I could get 5 people to sign up and, you know, pay for their, you know, their trip there and whatnot, that I could go for free. And so I don't know. We'll see where that goes. Throwing that out there right now. It's not going to happen this year at all, obviously, and we'll see. But there's a potential that I definitely want to go to these places 100%. That would be amazing. And we'll see. But yes, I definitely want to do that, and definitely stream it, and, you know, record it, and, you know, make a whole, like, get my own like photos and videos of these amazing places. That would be really freaking dope. And you know, like, look, Uncharted X, he's got some amazing videos and pictures of all the places he's been to with Graham Hancock and multiple famous people on the subject. 29 people in here now. Look at that. Very, very sweet. Welcome, everybody. Greed. What cycle, Sam? The cycle, the natural. All right, you're not gonna be chewing on that bone while I'm recording, okay? No chewing on the bone. The cycle that this planet takes, because for the majority of geology and cosmology and all that kind of stuff, they were under the oppression of uniformitarianism, which is the planet goes through a slow, gradual state and transitions. These things takes millions and millions of years to happen. But with the newest science that's been coming out recently, especially with the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis and all the other stuff we're finding out, that there are some events that happen rapidly and are extremely devastating. Obviously, the dinosaurs going extinct is one of them. It's where the planet was in a consistent state and then something changed that state in a very, very short period of time. And those kind of cycles are reoccurring, and they kind of happen on the same timeline, and the ancients knew that. That's the cycle we're talking about. I highly recommend looking up Randall Carlson talking about this. He actually put out a little teaser for his YouTube channel, Cosmographia. It's like 3 minutes long, where he basically explains a rough summary of that cycle and how the ancients knew about it. Highly recommend going and look at that on Cosmographia. We got 30 people in here now. Welcome, everybody. Okay, so now I'll come back down into the chat in a bit, but we're gonna be talking about some stuff now, guys. So we're going to be talking about meteors, ones that have hit the planet, the potential ones that hit us in the future, and how we know when a meteor impact has taken place. So to start off, boosh, look at that. All right, obviously, we kind of already touched on this earlier. Asteroid headed towards Earth right before Election Day, NASA says. Well, gosh darn, isn't that just amazing? Well, here's the thing, guys, okay? Yes, there's a meteor on the way to the planet, but it is tiny, okay? It's only 6.5, it's as tall as, it's 6.5 feet in diameter. So it's going to just burn up in the atmosphere. It's not going to cause any problems. And they're just trying to throw, this clickbait stuff out there for you to just click on the stuff. Okay, meteors hit the planet all the time. all the time. And the majority of them, probably a decent percentage of them, are hitting over top of the ocean to where nobody has any idea that the thing even came into the atmosphere. And on average, most of them are probably between 6 feet and lower that just hit us all the time. And when that happens, it breaks up in the atmosphere, and these little tiny particles slowly, settle down to the ground and leave a small trace of microspheres and all these little cosmic fingerprints on the ground. And if it's big enough, the bigger quantity of those things will be found, which is why we know about the Chicxulub crater. Excuse me, not that one. Where'd it go? So this isn't microspheres, but the cosmic bodies are really highly saturated with all sorts of different types of materials, specifically metals and stuff like that. Obviously, a meteor is made out of mostly a metal object. When that's the case. And when it comes to the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, the thing that they found that really kind of gave a boost for the hypothesis was the finding of iridium in the Younger Dryas boundary layer. And why this is significant is because when the Earth was forming millions and millions of years ago, or like billions of years ago, all of the really dense materials and metals like iron, iridium, and all that kind of stuff sank to the core of the planet, and then it got kind of locked there. So you shouldn't find natural courses of iridium from the creation of the planet on the surface at all, or like in the geological record. When an object like a meteor hits that is high in iridium, or I forget the other metal that the Chicxulub impact was. Iridium? I forget. I should have looked that up first. But anyway, when these objects hit the atmosphere, it displaces a large quantity of those materials across the planet's surface and creates a line in the dirt. So when the KT boundary, when we found this dude, okay, when you find a line, this line, okay, it was very high in microspheres and metals from cosmic bodies. That's why we know that gave us the first hint that a cosmic body hit the planet that made the dinosaurs go extinct. And they changed the name of this boundary, by the way. Most people know it as the KT boundary, the Cretaceous Tertiary boundary, but they have changed it to the KPG boundary, which is the Cretaceous. What was it again? I can't remember. Let's see. I had this written somewhere. Where'd I put it? That's the KT boundary. Cretaceous Paleogene extinction. Okay, so they changed the name of the KT boundary, so that can be a little bit confusing for some people. So it's the KPG now. So there you go, new information. But yeah, it was the finding of these key fingerprints in this layer in the dirt that suggested a meteoric impact. Now the thing is that when this was first proposed, it was just, people thought the scientists were crazy, that they were proposed this, like, oh, it's not possible, because the current model back then, and I forget the exact time period, it was before the 70s, I want to say it was during the 80s is when it was finally confirmed that was an impact because of the finding of the Chicxulub crater in the Yucatan Peninsula. But all of these academics were completely convinced for themselves that it was not an object from space that killed the dinosaurs off. They believed that it was volcanic activity, because there is a massive amount of evidence of huge volcanic activity in India. I forget the exact location. We're just talking massive volcanic rock that has been displaced over India. We're talking hundreds of feet of material, and that was what they originally thought killed off the dinosaurs and made them go extinct. And what this new finding is that on the opposite side of the planet, in the Yucatan Peninsula, what likely happened is that the meteor hit the planet and basically gushed the volcanoes that were already going off. It kind of like made a shockwave go through the whole planet and just made that volcanic activity even worse. So that's kind of the idea of what's been going on with that so far. But the other thing, obviously, that Chelyabinsk. Yeah, so the other thing that we find, specifically at the craters, okay, so when we found the Chelyabinsk crater They have a picture of that in here? No, they don't. So when they found the crater, when the object hits the mantle of the planet, the shock wave that goes through all of the minerals and stuff just it basically fractures it all. So it creates stuff called shocked quartz. Okay, and that's what this stuff is right here. Okay, so you see these lines. Let me put it over here. Okay, so this is shocked quartz. Okay, this is from an impact event where you see these lines going through here. Okay, it's basically, it's like the minerals were fractured. Okay, and then they kind of re-solidified. And this is a key fingerprint of a impact event. And we only find this kind of stuff in craters. Okay, so you're going to find shocked quartz in the Arizona crater. You're going to find this in the Chelyabinsk crater. Any crater, you're going to find shocked quartz. So it was these kind of things, that and these microspheres. That's what these are, microspheres. And microspheres are made up of all different types of materials that basically prove that an object hit the planet. Obviously, a crater is a definitive yes, an object hit the planet. But whenever you find this kind of stuff, it is very, very likely that these things were caused from an impact event, which is why when they found these materials in the Younger Dryas boundary, people brought up the idea, the Firestone paper posted in 2007 or submitted in 2007 suggested an impact event that caused the extinction of the megafauna and the end of the last ice age, is because we found these microspheres and the Younger Dryas boundary layer. Now, we have not officially found the crater yet, though the Hiawatha crater in Greenland is a very likely candidate, but until people actually get there and study it further to actually find out its age, we're not going to really know that until that happens. But it's the potential is very high for that. But so finding the microspheres and the Younger Dryas boundary layer is what sparked this idea of a comet or meteor impact ending the last ice age. And obviously, just like the Chicxulub crater and Chicxulub impact, the academics were adamantly against the impact hypothesis, because it's just impossible apparently to these people. And they just, I don't understand why they can't think outside of the box and reassess their own ideas and opinions to make sure that they actually have correct information and stop like just attacking and trying to just completely destroy. I'm not saying not to like investigate and pick these hypotheses and ideas apart, but don't be such a douchebag about it. That's just the main problem I have with it, because like the stories you hear about, especially with the Younger Dryas impact people, it's just they're vicious sometimes. It's pretty upsetting. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a more recent impact. Come back over here. So the Chelyabinsk event. Okay, this was in 2013. Okay, this was the meteor that hit over top of Chelyabinsk in Russia. It was I forget the exact size. I want to say it was like 100 or so feet in diameter, that came into the atmosphere going like 44,000 miles per hour. And when this dude hit the planet, it woke a lot of people up because it was very early in the morning. So I got a video here of it. Let's see here. I don't know how loud that is for you guys. I apologize. Hold on, I'm gonna do this one. I want the dash cam. Well, gosh darn. Is it this one? Yeah, it was this one. Here we go. This thing just coming across the sky. Now, I mean, people said that they could feel the heat from it coming into the atmosphere, and it was several times brighter than the sun when it entered the atmosphere. And what's amazing is that the object was essentially, excuse me, hold on, I gotta turn off the volume so I can hear myself talk. The energy that this object put off in the atmosphere was like 20 times greater than the Hiroshima nuclear bomb that hit, Japan. And just from an object going really fast through the atmosphere caused this massive explosion. And it's amazing. And this is a wake-up call. Like if an object like this was going to hit us, you know, on November 2nd, I would be a little bit more like, whoa, this could be a problem. Because the thing is, if this thing was moving just a little bit faster, or like moving at a steeper angle, people could have died. They absolutely could have died. Just, you know, the shock wave could have killed them. So that's super, super crazy. But why I bring this up right now is because now we're going to talk about the Tunguska event over here. So in Siberia in 1908, there was a massive explosion over top of this forest in Tunguska, Russia. For some reason, Russia keeps getting hit by meteors. Like if you look at a map of like the meteors that we know have hit the planet, just a lot of them for some reason hit Russia, which is very interesting. But so the Tunguska event, a lot of people argue that it was not an impact event because, again, they couldn't find a crater or any type of material of an object, okay? And this is before they had like the scientific methods to find the little tiny particles like the microspheres and all that kind of stuff. So they were looking like for actual like rocks that they could find. And obviously they didn't find any because it exploded in the atmosphere and turned into dust essentially. But the stories of people the eyewitness events, the eyewitnesses who watched the event take place, talk about how, you know, they saw this massive streak across the sky that just exploded brighter than the sun, and then this massive bang that took place, and then they were terrified because they thought boulders were falling out of the sky. So let me come back to this Chelyabinsk meteor real quick, to this video. I'm going to turn on the volume here. Hopefully it's not too loud for you guys. But pay attention to the sounds you hear after the Big Bang, okay? It sounds like other explosions happening. So here we go. Hear that? It sounds like boom, 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 like just consistent. So, and you know, the people who witnessed the Tunguska event spoke about it sound like boulders falling out of the sky. So I think that really leads credence to the idea that an object came over and hit Tunguska. And like the crazy theories about Tunguska is that, you know, a black hole hit the planet, or like a Tesla, you know, had a device that, you know, exploded or, you know, caused it, and all this kind of weird conspiracy stuff. But it is highly more likely that it was an object from space. Okay, we get hit by them all the time. We know this, and we know from the Chelyabinsk event that they cause massive, huge explosions in the atmosphere that can cause a lot of damage. It is very, very likely that it was an impact event, but it was the finding of key fingerprints that, let me come back over here. So that's the Chicxulub, come back here to the Tunguska event. So it talks about how, let me find it again. I'm not going to find it, but they found basically the microspheres embedded into the trees that were there during the explosion. Okay, the microspheres like slammed into these trees in the ground, and they were able to extract them out and confirm that it was in fact, well, I can't say confirm, but it is extremely likely that it was an object from space that caused the Tunguska event. And so why these current impacts are so important, in my opinion, is because if these things can happen on this small scale, They can obviously happen on a much, much bigger scale, like the gosh darn it, the Yucatan Peninsula impact. So one of the problems, back over here. So one of the problems that scientists faced when they were trying to explain the end of the last ice age was the energy input into the Earth to melt all of the glacial ice. When they figured out exactly how long it eventually took, which is about 3,000 years. Stop chewing on that bone. Do not eat that bone. It took about 3,000 years total for the ice to eventually melt away, or at least the majority of it. And the amount of energy required to melt all of that ice was just through the roof. And there was no terrestrial explanation for that. There was no volcano or evidence of a major volcanic eruption that could have caused all of that melting. And there was no substantial amount of natural climate change that could also melt all that ice. So it was called the energy paradox. They couldn't explain what could have melted all this ice, so they just took the idea of it, put it on the shelf, and nobody has really addressed it up until this day. Until the impact hypothesis took place. Clearly, objects coming into the atmosphere can release a massive amount of heat and energy all at one time. And when you have multiple objects, like from a comet, the Earth going through a comet tail, coming into the atmosphere, those objects could melt a massive amount of ice extremely rapidly and cause the whole temperature fluctuation that we see during the Younger Dryas event. So now there is evidence, I actually posted this on my Twitter not too long ago, there is evidence to suggest that there was volcanic activity taking place 12,800 years ago. And they're trying to say that, oh, it was actually a volcanic eruption. It's like, well, no, we still have the evidence for the cosmic fingerprints in all the Younger Dryas boundary layer, but we already also know that cosmic impacts can cause tectonic plate shift and movement and earthquakes that could set volcanoes off. So it could be like a chain reaction. Just because one happened doesn't mean it completely cancels out the other. They mesh together, and it's not one or the other essentially. So that's why I think, studying into these cosmic objects is super important. And, especially when it comes to, learning about the past. I mean, I didn't pull this one up, but there was likely an event that took place around 4,000 years ago that hit the Indian Ocean. Pretty sure it was the Indian Ocean. I forget the name of the crater, but it was the impact that caused the massive sediment chevrons across parts of Australia and Madagascar. We're talking massive quantities of ocean sediment that has been, tsunamied in, because like when a tsunami goes across the water, it's pulling a whole bunch of sediment with it that deposits it on land, and then the water comes back out and keeps doing that, creating this thing. Let me actually pull up a picture real quick. Madagascar chevron. So here we go. So we're talking like 600 feet high, and I need to figure out a better way to show you guys pictures and stuff like this. But this is from the ocean floor, and this is a 600-foot chevron, and this is what it looks like from a satellite view. This is where a massive wave came in and drug everything back out, then drug it back in and back out, creating this chevron. These are called chevrons, okay? And there's should be another picture. Here we go. So this is like the Burkle crater. There we go. Okay. This is where they found the Burkle crater. So there's evidence of a crater being there. The problem is with craters in the bottom of the ocean is that because of how, it's an ocean, the craters get filled with sediment extremely rapidly. But there is some evidence to suggest there's a crater here. But this impact into the Indian Ocean caused a massive 600 to possibly even 1,000-foot wave that just hit all of this landmass you see around here, specifically Madagascar, with it being so close. So that happened around 4,000 years ago. And, people in Africa, like people in, let's say, Egypt, probably heard about the flooding event that took place from this event. And the other thing is that I need to pull up this picture bigger, but I'm not gonna be able to do that. Oh, can I do that? That's kind of better. Okay, so the other interesting thing. So I have spoken about how the melting of the glacial ice is likely the origin for the Noah's Ark story. Okay, it's likely. Okay, however, this event around 4,000 years ago could actually be the origin of specifically the Noah's Ark story. The Noah's Ark story shares a lot of other aspects from other ancient myths across the planet, but the thing is, the wave that this thing emitted would have gone right up through the Red Sea right here and drowned out a massive portion of all the land up there. So they think that this event could have caused the story of the Noah's Ark because it could have flooded. We don't know. It's all just kind of speculation, but I just find it to be extremely interesting. What else was I going to talk about? We already talked about that. So I think I covered most of that. So I'm going to come back down into the chat here, see what you guys are talking about. We have 29 people in here still. What's good? Now in here. We'll talk about TikTok over here. What, Gregory? Chilling on Sunday night. Sam, how are you? He's talking amongst yourselves. Let's see. I know this guy, Suspicious Observer. Yeah, he's a good one too. I'm pretty sure. I know I've seen that name before. Let me put this in here. Suspicious Observer. Yes, very good stuff. Andrew Dixon. How advanced do you think the ancients were in comparison to where we are now? And a more basic civilization, but aware of technologies and processes we have overlooked / never discovered, perhaps. Well, it is kind of hard to really tell, but given what they could do with stone, I mean, just look what they could do with stone. Look at the pyramids, look at, the stuff in South America. They were able to manipulate this material in a way we cannot. We can't move and lift and cut stone on that level. So if they could do this with stone, what could they do with other materials that wouldn't last as long as stone? I mean, imagine what they could do with metal. For result, I would say that humans were at least as advanced, but I would argue probably more than we are today, because of the evidence and the knowledge that they had. We're talking, I mean, just to understand the precession of the equinox takes technology and a long period of time to understand that rotation, because it takes like 26,000 years to make one full rotation and 72 years just for one star to move 1 degree, just one little tiny degree on the horizon. It will take multiple lifetimes to be able to understand that, record it, and pass that information on. And if we're talking about ancient human beings who supposedly didn't have writing yet, able to understand these movements and encode them into remarkably huge structures, it just doesn't make sense that just primitive cavemen were able to understand that movement to that level. It makes way more sense that humans have been way more intelligent than we give them credit for. So I would argue that they were probably as advanced or more advanced than we are today. I will lean towards more advanced. I do believe that they were a global civilization. How else do we have these stories that share remarkable, identical characteristics with one another? Architecture identical to one another. The alignment, I mean, the planetary alignment with 21 sites going around the planet. All of this just being a coincidence just doesn't make sense in my mind. Jonathan, Teru, are you or have you ever been a fan of Stargate? I have not watched Stargate. I apologize. Now, I watched the movie, and it was aight. It was kind of like, it was aight, but I have not watched. People have told me I need to watch it, but I have not yet. So, Lewis Benford Ghost, except for the last paper you showed, you only use a single test pit at a single site, showing isolated find. Not. I don't know which one you're talking about. Uh, Jaden Moore, you also find quartz in nuclear creations. Yes, you do as well. Yes, you do as well. It's because of the high heat and pressure from that massive blast that takes place. 100%. 100%. Ion again, damn bro, that's crazy. Also, no hate towards not being able to pronounce my name. I get it a lot. Yeah, bro. Very, very sorry. A jump. I like the Fat Boy UA. I like the theory you just stated about Noah's Ark. Most definitely. I mean, these stories have origins to them. I 100% believe that. I do not believe you should read these stories literally, because they are the skewed, faded memory of that event that has been passed down for thousands and thousands of years. So the details and like little tiny things inside the story, I think a lot of people focus on too much. But the event of the flood, the world destroying flood, I mean, like when in the story they talk about the whole world going underwater, right? The whole planet disappears underwater. Well, did it actually disappear underwater, or did a flooding event take place that was on a scale that we cannot comprehend, and these people portrayed it as the world being destroyed by a world destroying flood, and that gets exaggerated into the entire world ending up underwater? Makes way more sense that understanding got kind of lost in the translation and time and turned into the story we read today. I mean, for example, if a massive flooding event destroyed our civilization today, the stories we would tell to our descendants if we survived would be that the world was destroyed by water. And that story will be exaggerated and twisted as time progresses. That's just how it works. They had to be a global civilization. I 100% believe 1N20 DND. Ion, what geography charts would you recommend? I do not have any off the top of my head. What geography charts specifically would you want? Would be my question for you, sir. And one, possibly many, or at least several global civilizations. Several is definitely, another possibility. I don't know. I believe at least one. 100% believe at least one time humans were an advanced race of people. 100%. Whether or not there were more before that, maybe. We don't know yet. D Sayers, dinosaurs, younger Dryas, Dryas, sir. There's no U in Dryas, Dryas, but it's okay. Tunguska, Russia. It's the moon that freaks me out. It's the amount of craters we need to figure out. Excuse me. The moon. Gosh, stop jumping around. It's the moon that freaks me out. It's the amount of craters we need to figure out the ancient astronomy techniques to figure out when the next round is near. Well, there's no real way to determine exactly when the next round is here. The only way to be ready for that is to assume it will always happen tomorrow. Okay? When you're always ready for it, it doesn't matter when it takes place at that point. So we know it will happen eventually. We don't know how bad it will be or what effect it'll have on the planet, but if it's bad enough, we need to be ready for it. And as of right now, the majority of us are not. Most people are not. They don't even think about it. Well, it's one of those things that I think about often, unfortunately, just how my mind works. But I mean, clearly people are way more aware of it, given that we have a meteor on the way before the election. Yeah, okay. All right. SO logging. Being as the world is consistently changing, what if, per se, they had access to a stronger magnetic field and or materials with materials that we no longer have access to due to cosmic events? Sorry for confusing. That wasn't terribly confusing. I mean, I don't think we should assume materials that they had. I do think they had metal. I mean, did they have any type of plastic? Well, we don't find plastic in the archaeological records, so likely not. Did they have something like plastic that was more biodegradable? I mean, think about this too. We today are trying to find a way to make our materials decompose over time. Okay? We don't want these things to last for thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years because we know it's not very good for the environment. So we're trying to make biodegradable materials. So if we achieve that, like perfectly, where we can have things that eventually will just erode in nothing, there will be no trace of us at all if we just disappear one day and thousands of years go by. The only thing that's going to be left from us will be whatever we carved from stone. Yep. How did you get into all this? Very good question. So back in 2015, Joe Rogan had Randall Carlson on his podcast, and Randall Carlson was talking about the Younger Dryas and the cataclysmic event of the flooding of all the glacial ice, talking about all the land formations we find in Washington State, like Dry Falls, Camas Prairie Ripples, Potholes Cataract, talking about J. Harlan Brett's, and he had, Graham Hancock on there, and just listening to that dude talk and just the remarkable knowledge that dude has obtained over the past like 40 years. Just, he flicked that domino over in my mind, and it just sent me down this rabbit hole of just learning as much as I possibly could about the ancient stuff and like history. When it comes to mythology, it is way more difficult for me to study mythology because reading these ancient stories is kind of a drag, honestly. It's just like, get to the point, and like, you don't understand what they're saying sometimes. It just can be super confusing. But it was definitely Randall Carlson who set me on my way. Let's just put it that way. SO logging. Not if such material no longer exists. Essentially extinction, but for material. I mean, yeah, the material just doesn't get up and just vanish, one day, obviously. Over a period of time of erosion and corrosion and all that kind of stuff, materials that can't sustain erosion like that will eventually just literally turn back into dirt. That's just how it works. So yeah, we can talk about it being a material extinction. That we're discovering materials basically all the time. I mean, I don't know what the most recent new material to be discovered is, but who knows what we're going to be able to make like 5, 10, 20 years in the future. Materials that you won't even be able to understand right now. It'll be pretty freaking nuts. Since there are rarities out there, yeah, like rare metals and stuff, definitely interesting. Louis Banford Ghost, man, you're going crazy, aren't you, man? N120 D&D, yeah, how do we know if there was one or several? Proving it is a challenge for sure. Like you said, there was at least one. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, proving it for 100% fact right now, no. Can't do that for you guys. When these people say, where's the proof? Where's the proof? It's like, okay, well, if you spend any time studying into this subject, you might become a little bit more convinced that it is possible and likely that there has been previous civilizations on this planet. If you just assume that we are the end-all, be-all, pinnacle of technology, nobody else has ever achieved anything like we have before, I find that to be a very ignorant statement. I mean, our species is 200,000 years old. People just like you and I. I'm not talking about some primitive dude. I'm talking about someone who looks just like you, has been existing on this planet for 200,000 years. And we only know, the only history we know, we date to around 6,000 and 7,000 years ago from the cuneiform writings from Mesopotamia. Anything prior to that writing, there is no record on what was going on. So for the majority of humans' existence on this planet, we do not know what was going on. And given the fact that materials and things erode, get buried, get destroyed over long periods of time, it is 100% plausible and going to happen that eventually we will disappear ourselves. And for the next civilization to pop up after us, who Who knows if they're going to be able to tell we were here at all? They wouldn't be able to know we were here until they gained the technological achievement to find those fingerprints in the dirt. That's just how that works. That's if they knew what they were looking for. What if they were using a type of energy and material that we just don't even understand yet? I mean, well, like, what if they were able, what if they didn't use fossil fuels? We obviously, we don't find any record of anybody burning that kind of stuff in the geological record, so they probably weren't doing that. What if they had what's the word? An endless energy system, a natural energy system. Like, hypothesizing, what if the Great Pyramid is a natural generator that would leave no trace in the ground at all for us to be able to find or know if they had electricity like that? We don't know. It's just one of those things. Yeah, how do we know if there was one or several proving? Yeah, I already read that. Oh, I jumped again. SO Lodging, I love these streams. It's fun going deep in through with others. Yes, I love talking about this stuff too, my bro. The Sayers, how do you think they moved, lifted, shaped the stones? I do not know. I have no idea. I've seen a lot of different ideas about it. I mean, the amount of effort it would take just to move the stones, like for example, the Great Pyramid, all the stones for the Great Pyramid, to move all its stone, like that's if they move the stone. There's some studies to suggest that it could be like a concrete mixture to where they made like molds and then they packed in, this concrete stuff. So obviously you would have to move the stones then. But when it comes like moving like these granite boxes, I mean, if we're just talking about dudes, my brother's trying to call me right now and I am not answering that. Stop calling me. Stop calling me. Like moving the granite stones for the Phant0m, we're talking like 25 stones, raw, being at least 200 to possibly 300 tons. They're 100 tons after they've been carved. It takes a lot of effort. I mean, I like with the video I did about the Baalbek stones, I talked about us moving a 320 ton stone to LA. They had to get this team of engineers to make this custom trailer just to lift this stone a few inches off the ground and move only 11 miles an hour it took them 11 days to go 85 miles to get it to LA where the stone sits today. It took $10 million to move one 320 ton stone. And ancient people were able to just do this all the time, essentially, back then. And I don't think just throwing slaves at it isn't the correct answer at all. Now, granted, slaves were used for a lot of construction in ancient times, 100%. But when it comes to shaping and moving these kind of stones the way, the Phant0m is, it just I don't buy it. Let's just put it that way. Back down here. Where'd you go? Fat Boy UA. Isn't that your theory of builders eroding over time in Atlantis as well? Isn't that your theory of builders eroding over time in Atlantis as well? I mean, Atlantis was destroyed by a massive flood. What do you want? Okay. We'll work it out. My goodness, bro. Yeah, leave your keys out. Sorry, guys. Parking situation at the house. Thank you, sir. Isn't that your theory of buildings eroding over time and Atlantis as well? So Atlantis was hit by a massive wave, okay? And if we're talking a wave 600 feet high, moving 60 miles per hour over extensive period of time, there will be nothing left at the bottom, of that flooding event. It will literally tear the bedrock away, like we see in Washington State. So, if anything was left of Atlantis, it's probably not going to be very significant at all. It's just going to be probably like fragments that just look like random stones. You probably can't even tell it used to be a building. 0 point energy. That's what I meant. Yep. Thank you, sir. Eccentricity. What if they didn't care about the past and was only focused on the future? Well, it's kind of what we're doing today, I think. People don't care about history at all, it feels like, anymore. People only care about what's happening with them right now. They don't really think about what happened in the past. And when you don't study the past, we as a species are likely to repeat ourselves over and over and over again, because you don't know that mistake has already been made. So it's just one of those things that we have got to get people interested and involved with learning more about who we are, where we have been, and likely where we're going to go. And you guys can see clearly right now with everything that's going on around this planet when it comes to all these people who don't understand history at all. People are going to do the same mistake that happened long ago, and it is upsetting. SO logging. Yes, there is a material record, but we will never stop learning. If I had a stone pick and a metal pick 10k years ago, more than likely the metal pick will be gone and there will be no trace. 100%. Which is why we have so much evidence of hunter-gatherer tools everywhere, because their tools are the ones that will likely last the longest. Which is why when we eventually disappear and go, our civilization goes kaput, and hunter-gatherers in the Amazon survive, and they, push forward, our civilization will erode into nothing, and their tools will be the only record of humans doing anything. And future civilizations will likely think that their descendants are the ones who built Mount Rushmore. It's kind of how that is. Lodging, while the stone pick will still remain. Yeah, 100%. ML, hey, so happy you're live. I didn't get a notification. Well, welcome. Welcome here. Jonathan, have you heard of giants in America? They had discovered giant human skeletons. Could these have been the ancients? Yes, I have researched into giants in the Americas and their stories. Very interesting. People say it's impossible. Well, I don't really want to say really anything like that's impossible. I mean, just look how big the megafauna were during the Ice Age. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibilities in my mind that there was some species of human that were just freaking huge, like every freaking other mammal on the planet. Was our species that big? Likely not. Was there another type of humanoid that big or bigger than us? I find it likely. And if you go back and look at like these Native American stories about, the giants that roamed across the plains and like the massive wars that they fought and all kinds of stuff, like giants so big that they could hang buffalo from their belts. That's very, very interesting. And one story, I forget the name of the dude, it was one of the first people that showed up in the Americas. He supposedly came across a giant man and woman, and when he showed up on shore, encountered this person, the giant was trying to ask him if he came from the sky. That's fascinating. Where did you come from? Came from the sky? It's nuts. But I mean, when it comes to being giant, probably would really help to move some really big stones. All I gotta say about that. Smoldering ash. What do you think about the recut structure being Atlantis? I think it's extremely likely that the recut structure is Atlantis. I mean, now Randall Carlson disagrees. Okay, he thinks that Atlantis is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. But the thing with the recut structure, and he's got his opinions on it and whatnot, and I haven't done as much research into that kind of stuff as Randall Carlson. But the thing that gets me about Atlantis is that, excuse me, the recot structure, is its formation, how Plato describes it being, concentric rings with a circle in the center, with natural springs of fresh and warm water that the people would bathe in, and the fact that the recot structure has geothermal activity happening underneath the crust at the center of the formation, heated water. And you can see in satellite images that there is massive water streaks running through the desert, showing that at one point that entire site was underwater. And then in the part of Mauritania where it's at, we find stone artifacts that are extremely suspicious. Like we're talking granite, like massive granite plates that had like this perfect curve to them. And it's really intriguing. And the other big thing that just gets me every time, let me grab my globe real quick. Talking about the ancient, like the Great Line going around the planet, right? Okay, we have the Great Line of ancient sites, okay? So now I would love to have somebody actually like figure out exactly how close this is to this line, but from what I was able to put together, the recot structure is also lined up with the rest of all of these other ancient sites going around the planet. Is all that just some big coincidence? I don't know. I don't think so. But then, you have Plato giving the date. You have Plato giving the date for the sinking of Atlantis around 11,000, between 11 and 12,000 years ago, when the glacial ice was melting from the Ice Age. You just have all this stuff, all line up, and it's really intriguing. And for people to just shut it down, be like, it's not possible, whatever, and they don't even want to like consider or, think about the possibility of it, a little frustrating. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. So what are your thoughts on sound vibration as a tool to help cut material and or move objects? Well, I mean, I'm sure most people have seen the experiments and thing they've done where they take like two speakers and they take a little water droplet and they like make the little water droplet float. Now granted, it's just a water droplet, but like when we first discovered electricity, all they were really doing was making this little pendulum move back and forth through the electrical current that they were putting into the metals. And people were like, oh, what is this going to be used for? This isn't like, what are you going to do with that? And the guy, forget the name of the dude who did it, he was like, what good is a baby? A baby can't do anything. It's the potential of what it can do in the future. Okay. So who knows what we are going to be able to do with sound when we continue that kind of technology. Maybe we're going to be able to move really big, heavy things where you don't have to actually lift it. You just have to put it in this vibrational state that just traps it in the sound waves, and you can just pick it up without any trouble at all. That sounds really freaking cool. Now, when it comes to shaping and cutting stone, I mean, we kind of do that today. When you have like a jackhammer and it's like ding, 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 not only is it, actually hitting the surface of the stone, but the vibration of that object hitting the stone, it fractures the stone and makes it, break apart easier. But there's this one dude, he did an experiment where he took a copper shape, like a copper cylinder, put it on top of this granite stone and put this device that vibrated on top of it, and it was able to cut through a solid circle out of the granite stone. So yeah, they could definitely use vibration and stuff like that. When you have, now if we're talking about like a device that you just like kind of point at it and the vibration coming out of the device cuts the stone, I don't think that to be likely at all. It's probably like the vibration of like a tuning fork, like in Egypt, a tuning fork, pounding into something. It's likely. It's very interesting. Come back down in here. Not Deadpool. Do you think that the Tower of Babel is a similar concept to Elon Musk's neuro implants or universal speech reliance, and then losing that technology and everyone not knowing how to talk anymore? No, I'm not going to say that. What I would say about the Tower of Babel, whether or not it being like an actual real physical tower, I don't know. But how I have kind of thought about it, and I did make a TikTok video about it, is that the Tower of Babel is a metaphor for civilization. So the tower represents the technological achievement of mankind at the time, and of it being this great, strong structure, right? And then the falling of the tower represents the collapse of that civilization. And after the collapse, mankind is scattered across the planet, and their languages are skewed and changed where they can't understand anybody more. And the way the story is portrayed, it all happens in a very, very short period of time. But if we imagine we stretch that out, where you have civilization, it collapses, people scatter across the planet, and over time their languages naturally evolve into different dialects to where they will no longer be able to communicate with each other anymore. I think that makes way more sense than it all being happening as the story portrays, or it being like a technology like you're explaining there. But good question though. Man, it's just jumping everywhere now. Wondering Ash, wow, thanks for answering my question. You're welcome. Sayers, I would say seeing all these ancient sites, anything is possible. Yeah, 100%. Not Deadpool. When food is abundant and survival is easy, being bigger means you become dominant over your surroundings. Bigger warriors can take smaller warriors. I don't know if that's a typo or not. Etc. Or bigger predators beat the smaller ones. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Now, what's interesting though is that in these ancient Native American myths and whatnot, they talk about how the smaller people were in a war against the giant people, and they eventually won that war and buried them in mounds. And there are like 15,000 massive dirt mounds in the Americas right now. And I don't know if anybody's actually dug into them and see if anything was underneath them or not, because they're like, protected and whatnot. Well, I don't know, we'll see. As lodging, I mean, just look at the power of electricity and magnets. The U.S. built railgun is nuts. I bet there are so many things we can do with material we don't even know yet. 100%. I assume the Tower of Babel just being a computer system. That's an interesting thought. Being like the internet computer network and it was lost, if that makes sense. It makes sense. Just kind of all up to your interpretation, what you think about it. I just assume that the Tower of Babel being that a computer system being lost where speech was no longer used, but the stories passed down turned into that. It is a very interesting thought. Very, very cool thought. Well, guys, I've been going for an hour now, and I've got to go move cars because my brother has to work super early in the morning. But it's been great having you guys here. We got 33 people in here, and it's been dope. But I appreciate every single one of you. I will be working on new videos, or the newest video about the boxes in the Serapeum. Hopefully we should be having that out. There's a few things I have to do before I actually get to record it and do all that kind of stuff. I have to flesh out what I've written out so far, but we'll see how that goes. So far, OBS has worked pretty freaking well right now. Being able to do this is freaking dope. But I'm going to head out now, and it's been great, guys. You take care. Bye.